30th of August 2024. Hi guys, welcome to Red Dot Rants, the comedy and tragedy of living in Singapore. Now, what do you do if you have paid $40 million for a coffee shop and you're anxious to make back? Well, you could target the deprived folks in the land of moral high horses by giving them some eye candy. Nothing original or creative, but this coffee shop at Jurong has successfully pulled in the crowds with a very attractive beer promoter. 27-year-old Cindy Tong became an overnight sensation, thanks to the folks who liked and shared her photos. Now, Cindy's good looks might not be welcomed by some aunties, but competing coffee shops can always employ some hunks for the aunties to get even. I don't see a problem in an open-minded society, which ours isn't, unfortunately. Now, sadly, our deprived uncles may go overboard and our insecure aunties may decide to do what they do best: complain to Papa. What if my daughter quits her studies to become a beer promoter? Not all outliers, experiments, and different pathways to success are welcome on the little red dot. But before that happens, we need to be clear that the root of the problem does not lie with the beer promoter, or even if she lives like a queen in a palace she owns in JB, while those uncles pity her. Anyway, F&B beauties have been making their rounds on social media for years.
Boleh kuah campur dulu.
추어탕 미꾸라지 사왔습니다.
Could this spell the end of beauty pageants? Perhaps not. But aspiring beauty queens of the future may consider running a food stall instead of answering stupid questions in a swimsuit. According to one survey, 1 in 6 Singaporeans has ended a relationship due to bad travel experience. Now, to some, the number is shockingly high, but I think it ought to be even higher because most bad travel experiences only emerge after marriage. Now, if premarital couples want to be stringent about it, the number of those breaking up after traveling together could be higher. I've often heard horror stories of people who have gone on trips with their colleagues and best friends only to come home swearing never to travel with those colleagues and best friends again. Yes, traveling together can reveal a lot about the other person, but living together is a different thing. Now, I had this friend who was his ex-wife's best teammate in the college kayak team. After they got married and had a child, she gave up the sport and became a tiger mum and a bean counter. My friend remained relaxed and easygoing. She became calculative and hated some of his friends. Like me. They disagreed on practically all financial matters and eventually they got divorced. 青梅竹马 is no guarantee for a lasting marriage. Indeed, you can be the best travel companions and yet not get along in life. Now, over the last 3 decades, I've met many wonderful people on my travels, both locals and fellow travelers. Before the internet, we could only become pen pals. But because writing and posting letters took time and effort, we almost invariably ended up losing contact after some time. I've missed these folks and felt sad that we might never meet again. Then came the internet, There's a sudden surge of joy and excitement when you found a way to contact a long-lost friend. But there are things which social media reveals that traveling together can't reveal. You can almost read each other's minds from social media posts and opinions. Your eyes are peeled open to the other person's values, ideology, and geopolitical stand. Now, this person might have been a great travel companion, but you could be shocked or even disgusted by some of the things he posts on social media. You argue a bit, then end up unfriending each other. It could have been better if that person had remained a long-lost friend and a beautiful memory. By the same token, I used to have great respect and admiration for mavericks like Mr. Tan Kin Lian, Mr. Jack Sim, Prof. Tay King Soon, Ms. Teo So Lang, before I followed them on social media. In a way, I still respect them, but social media revealed them to be very different people than those I thought they were. Now, a few days ago, I came across a report on TVBS with a very interesting title.
免签后遗症，新加坡10豪宅窃盗嫌犯大陆籍。
The adverse effects of going visa-free. Now, some 3.85 million in cash and valuables have been stolen from landed homes in Singapore by international crime syndicates, according to the SPF. Between the 1st of June and 4th of August, over a period of just 2 months, there were 10 burglary cases reported, with a majority of them at private residential estates in the vicinity of the rail corridor and Bukit Timah Road. There was just one house in Bishan area that was involved. Police said that out of the 3.8 million stolen, approximately 1.36 million in valuables have been recovered. Something that is not emphasized is that only 3 suspects have been apprehended. There are 14 of them still at large, and they have successfully escaped from our shores. This is quite concerning. How did these folks who are new to Singapore and who have only been here for a couple of days pull off such a massive heist? According to some sources, the 17 burglars have never even met when they were in China. It's reasonable to assume that they are part of a high-tech information sharing and planning network with local informants. Now, where are the others now? Most likely in China, the safest place on earth, according to Zhao Lijian. Not long after this, a deadly incident occurred in Japan. A male sales assistant at a jewelry store in Osaka City died after being stabbed during a daytime robbery on the 7th of August. The police later apprehended a 27-year-old male Chinese national on suspicion of robbery and murder. Now, according to the police, the perpetrator pretended to be a customer at the jewelry store. He asked the clerk, a 30-year-old by the name of Tatsuya Hironaka, to show him a Patek Philippe watch valued at around 62.8 million yen. The Chinese man requested to negotiate the price in a private room. There, he pulled out a knife, snatched the watch, and stabbed Hironaka when the latter tried to stop him. Fortunately, Japanese police arrested the culprit at the airport when he was trying to flee to China. This is just one category of criminals, common thieves without much background and connections. Not so in the case of 26-year-old Apple engineer Ye Ting, or Jennifer Ye, who was involved in a fatal accident on the 30th of September last year. Miss Ye was speeding at 100 miles per hour under the influence of alcohol on a street in Kings County, Washington, when her car crashed, killing her passenger, a 27-year-old man surnamed Liu, also a Chinese national. Refusing to give a statement to the police, Ye Ting remained in hospital without being watched until she gave hospital staff the slip and fled to China through Canada. Until now, China has not released any information on the whereabouts of Ye Ting. Then there is this Chinese student who maxed out all his credit cards to the tune of $140,000 before he returned to China without any intention to pay back. He didn't just keep quiet about his offense. He boasted that he had taught the capitalists a lesson. He sarcastically thanked Chase, American Express, and Citibank on Chinese social media for giving him so much money for nothing. He even received praises from Chinese netizens, calling him a genius and a hero for using money stolen from the enemy to add to the motherland's coffers. 为祖国添砖加瓦. Although some netizens criticized the former student for making things difficult for future Chinese visa applicants and students in America, the government had taken no action against him, making it seem like stealing is okay as long as it's 为祖国添砖加瓦. Make no mistake, it's not difficult to track these folks down using China's cutting-edge web monitoring and facial recognition technology. But as one cynical netizen put it, the authorities will only act with urgency if you are bashing the government, calling for independence, or attempting to submit a petition. Meanwhile, with visa requirements being removed in an attempt to spur tourism in Singapore, we need to brace ourselves to face some of the adverse effects, even though not everyone is a criminal. One adverse effect I've observed personally would be the crowded buses at NUS. Tourists from China have been packing the free shuttle buses, toilets, and canteens, causing delays and inconvenience to staff and students. Signs had to be put up to remind them that a free bus service is reserved for staff and students. We have the cooperative ones like this family and this family. We also have the uncooperative ones like this Dama. Interestingly, there are Singaporeans who think that we won't survive without them. We just got to put up with them. And we have even reached a state whereby foreigners can insist on their rights over citizens. This foreign student thinks that Singaporeans should stay at home and not compete with them for accommodations at campus. Unfortunately, too few people are bothered by all this. They prefer to complain about pretty beer promoters. Some even see this as a happy problem. No, it isn't. I can foresee a far more sinister issue brewing here.
There is a price to pay for being too welcoming. 树大必有枯枝，人多必有白痴。
2 years ago in New York, 25-year-old Zhang Xiaoning stabbed immigration lawyer Jim Lee after the latter refused to help process her application. Desperate for an immigration visa, Ms. Zhang sought political asylum by fabricating a story about being hounded by the authorities after reporting that she had been sexually assaulted by her superior. Knowing that she had been lying, Jim told her that he could no longer represent her. She then executed a plan to have him killed. When she was cuffed and brought away by the police, she shouted patriotic chants and called her former lawyer a traitor. Now, Jim happened to be an organizer of the Tiananmen protests in 1989. Miss Zhang had flip-flopped. Apparently, hoping to be welcomed back to China as a hero. Now, what sort of antics can someone who failed to get into Singapore resort to? The patriotism card has been tried and tested. One influencer, going by the moniker of 铁头, used to be very successful shooting videos that called out dishonest business practices. Then, he made one fatal mistake. He talked about how he was tricked by a sex worker. That not only caused his channel to be suspended, it also caused him to lose fans. Desperate, 铁头 tried to restore his reputation by urinating and scrawling graffiti at a Yasukuni shrine. Then there is this Phoenix TV's Chinese correspondent based in Japan. He had been living in Japan for 22 years and moonlighting off-camera as a newsreader for NHK News. Recently, he asked NHK for a raise, but the company turned down his request. In his last performance in Japan, he went off the script and chanted anti-Japanese slogans. He returned to China, hoping to become another patriotic influencer. But while he did gain some fans, the response was somewhat not what he expected. No luck for this influencer wannabe. Meanwhile, 铁头 has been arrested for extortion. Since his antics in Japan cannot be repeated, he started targeting less than honest goldsmiths in China and threatened them with exposure if they didn't pay up. The official media in China described this tactic used by these individuals as 流量伪爱国主义. It seems that Chinese netizens are waking up to such madness. But Zhang Jiaoguan or Zhang Jianhao, who went around calling for the boycott of hotels that didn't include the PRC flag on their premises, had already been sponsored by patriotic netizens to drive around the world. These are tough times. These days, it's hard to find a nutritious meal for less than $5 in Singapore. Chinese influencers try every trick in the book to stay popular, and their system can sometimes help them get away with a lot of things. In order to survive, our businesses need to be creative without breaking the law and hurting others. Hopefully, we can all live and let live. Look out for the real threats and leave the harmless distractions alone. That's all I have for you in this video. Have a great weekend and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.